Great Lakes Prepping here. Earlier this year, I made a video review all about my 10.5-foot kayak by Brooklyn Kayak Company. But what I didn't cover is how I store and transport this big, heavy kayak. So in this video, on what I expect will be the last warm day of the year, I'm going to show exactly that. A couple things to note. One, I specifically bought a kayak that I was confident that I could move and load by myself. And while it's not super easy to do, I definitely can load and unload this big old thing by myself. Two, I didn't want to have roof racks installed on my truck. They're expensive and they would actually prevent me from being able to park in my garage, considering that the kayak is stored above where I park my truck and there's already a very small amount of clearance without the roof racks. And three, while I do have a truck with a bed, it's a pretty short bed. I do not consider the old strap the kayak to the bed and have 60% of the boat perilously jutting out and hanging out the back of my truck on the freeway to be a viable option. I also didn't want to bother with a trailer, so the best option as I saw it was to put it on top of the truck using a non-permanent roof carrier solution, and that's what I did. I'm quite happy with how it all works. I can safely and securely transport my kayak at freeway speeds with no damage or elaborate modifications to my vehicle. I'll mention that I did have to make a few minor upgrades and modifications to the roof system that I bought, and we're going to cover all of that in this video. So let's get into it. Real quick to start, I'll show you how I store this kayak when not in use. Basically, I bought a simple overhead kayak storage pulley system and I modified it to work with a hand crank ratchet winch. I also upgraded the rope that came with it because I needed it to be longer and stronger than the cheapo nylon rope that came with the system. When I first planned this storage system out, I had high hopes of being able to simply lower the kayak onto the roof of my truck. But due to the height of my garage, and more specifically the height of the opened garage door, this was not possible. So instead, I just lower the kayak down almost to the floor, then I put my kayak trolley in place and strap it to the boat. This lets me easily wheel the kayak over to my truck rather than dragging it along the cement driveway. I make sure every movable part on the kayak is either removed or secured. The seat is a huge pain to remove, so I just secure it in the down position with a bungee cord. Now let's take a look at the roof carrier system I bought. This is the MeeFar Universal Soft Car Roof Carrier System. It sells for around $60. It comes with these big, thick roof pads and all the straps and ropes needed to tie down a kayak or canoe to your vehicle's roof. Well, it comes with all the stuff that you could use to tie down your boat. While the pads are great, I found basically all this other stuff to be substandard and inadequate to tie down my kayak to a level that I consider safe and secure. More on that in a minute. The first thing I have to do is put the big roof pads in place, one near the front of the roof, one near the back, taking care to center them left to right. These things have a non-slip, grippy surface on the bottom. The pads are thick and soft, but quite dense. They work very well with a pretty heavy kayak on them. Once they're on the roof, I'll go inside the vehicle and secure them in place with the attached straps. The springy shark tooth style buckles on these straps are sufficient for holding the pads in place. But I found the similar buckled straps that are meant to be used to wrap around the boat itself to be entirely inadequate. There's no way around the fact that this style of strap buckle will loosen, particularly when pulled very tight and particularly when large, heavy cargo is being constantly jostled by movement and wind. But more on that in a minute. Next, I have to get that kayak up onto the roof of the vehicle. After removing the wheeled trolley, I'll pull the front end of the kayak up onto the open tailgate of my truck. Then, while standing in the bed, I pull it up and prop the front end onto the rear roof pad. Then it's a matter of heaving the rest of the kayak up and sliding it forward until it's pretty well centered on the roof, front to back. This right here is the hardest step of the whole operation. Admittedly, you're likely to have a pretty hard time doing this part by yourself unless you happen to be a big goon like me. The next thing I have to do is strap it in place around the body of the kayak. Like the pads themselves, this involves the straps wrapping around into the interior of the vehicle and being cinched tight. A quick note. At first, I was worried about the prospect of having to slam my doors shut on these taut straps. I thought the doors or their weather stripping would interfere with the straps or become damaged by them. But it's absolutely not an issue. The doors shut fine, simply flexing the weather seal a little bit at each strap location. As I mentioned earlier, the straps that came with the roof system that are intended for this step are simply inadequate. I used them the first time I tried out this system, and I found myself frequently re-cinching them while driving. I was only on surface streets, and the jostling at low speeds still caused them to loosen constantly. They absolutely did not sufficiently secure the kayak in place, so my first upgrade was getting some proper ratchet straps to replace these. To no surprise, they worked fantastically. With the side-to-side straps in place, the last thing I have to secure is the front-to-back. And this brings us to the second and third upgrades I found necessary. The system comes with this thin rope and flimsy carabiners. There is just no way that these are going to pull tight enough for me to trust that the kayak couldn't possibly shift forwards or backwards while accelerating or braking. So 2 more ratchet straps solves that problem. And lastly, while the rear of the kayak is meant to be secured by running a rope, or strap in my case, from the rear of the boat to some point on the rear of the vehicle, such as a trailer hitch, their solution for a front of car anchor point is absolute garbage. The system comes with these 2 hood anchor strap thingies. The idea is that you open your car's hood, set these in place, and then shut the hood on them such that the closed hood keeps them in place and you can attach your front rope or strap to them. Well, on my truck, the only place that they could really sit unobstructed was up near the windshield. The first problem with this is that the angle is all wrong when I attach my straps to them. While anchored near the windshield, it does not prevent forward or backwards movement whatsoever. Unless, that is, you ratchet them so tight that you think your hood is going to rip off its hinges. Though, when I tried this, the hood did not rip off. Rather, the anchors simply slid themselves right up and out from beneath the hood. All in all, terrible. But my truck didn't really have an anchor point near the front. I thought maybe I'd run a long strap over the hood and down beneath the front bumper and find a piece of frame I could attach to. That's when my friend suggested putting a big ol' eye hook into one of the front license plate screw holes. In Michigan, we don't have front license plates, and this bumper is sturdy steel. So I did just that, and that ended up working perfectly, even if it looks a little silly. And that's it, the kayak is ready to go. My truck bed is free to load up with other luggage or boat stuff, and I can transport my kayak in an absolutely safe and secure manner. In other words, that ain't going anywhere. With this system, I've transported my kayak several hundred miles on the freeway without it budging so much as an inch. I drove through high winds and monsoon rains, and it was unfazed. And when it's time to unload, I'll just do the opposite. Remove all the straps and carefully lower the kayak down to the ground. A quick bonus tip that will absolutely save your sanity. Anytime you're strapping something to the outside of your vehicle, put 1 or 2 twists in every strap. This seems counterintuitive because people have the tendency to want things neat and even and symmetrical and orderly, but if the strap is left untwisted, it's going to become the world's largest bass guitar string as soon as you get up to speed. But a couple of twists will completely prevent all the horrific vibration and noise. And if you want to take a look at any of this stuff, I'll put some links in the video description below. The roof carrier system, the storage hoist system, the kayak trolley, and so forth. I may do another video in the future to show how I did my winch hoist storage system, but almost certainly not until at least next spring. So that's it for now. Be sure to like and subscribe and stay up to date with all our latest stuff, including future kayak videos. Thanks for watching, and until next time, this is Great Lakes Prepping.